Hello Derailious. This video is dedicated to your request.
Also, if you're a KUUDRA player, please teach me how to do Infernal KUUDRA.
This video will help everyone who's in a similar situation, but I will look at Derailious' profile for reference. You gotta know that I won't go over difficult strats, so that everyone will be able to pull everything off. I will go over the needed equipment, armor, gear in general, pets, weapons, and miscellaneous stuff that you have to know. With all that information, you will have a great foundation to be able to play Infernal KUUDRA on a decent level. First up, you need 6 equipment pieces. A necklace with mana pool mana regen, a lava shell necklace with lifeline and speed or something, because mana pool is way too expensive. Then you'll need a molten cloak and a belt with lifeline and mana pool. And at last, you need a molten bracelet with lifeline and mana pool, and a gauntlet of contagion with mana pool and undead resistance, or something that you want. It works like that. You play with a necklace with mana pool and mana regen and the gauntlet of contagion, and switch them up shortly before the stunner stuns KUUDRA, like in this clip here. Secondly, the armor sets you should use. You need a Aurora armor, a Terra, a Ember armor, and a Reaper armor, but I personally do not use the Reaper armor because of my ping issues. The Aurora should at least be fiery with mana pool and undead resistance. Undead resistance, because then you will be able to tank a lot more in KUUDRA. You really do not need the God roll, it's a waste of money. Next up we got the Terra armor with the Warden helmet. The Terra should be at least fiery 10 star with lifeline 7 and mana pool 6. The reason you use lifeline instead of dominance is lifeline 7 is better than dominance 10, so it's just way cheaper. And mana pool is needed to be able to mana drain for your teammates, but you can cheap out at first and just use lifeline. You should change it ASAP though. Legion 5 is a must, because you will hopefully have 3 teammates around you, so that your damage is boosted for a pretty decent amount. For the gemstones, it's alright if you use Flawless Jasper at first, because it's way cheaper, but if you got the funds, you should switch up to perfects. Get yourself some Ferocious mana 7 and Strong mana 7 and you'll be good. The Amber can be clean, but I recommend some Reforges for survivability and some hot potato books. The Amber armor is used so that you can pull the supplies to a spot of your liking, or just when the tentacle is trolling. You might also use it to glitch under these invisible walls. The Reaper armor can be clean. Thirdly, the gear that's in your inventory. You use the Staff of Volcano and Wand of Strength to get low, so that lifeline will work. You can use them when you switch up your equipment pieces, just before the stunner does his job. Of course you will need a rod, but I think I don't have to tell you that. If you get killed too often, you can also use a Wand of Atonement and maybe a Floated Zombie Sword or heal, but you'll have to end up swapping more. A SOS flare would be placed at the beginning of the run, but the party will surely have one, so you'll be good. For survivability, when the armada of dropships bombs you, like you got some spare oil for them, you can just use the Spirit Mask or Mithril Coat. But most of the time you won't need it, because you're done with KUUDRA even before they attempt to bomb you. Your enrichments should be on crit chance, so that you can use Spiritual on your turn, because it does way more damage. The fourth point are your pets. You should have a G-Drag with an Antique Remedies, and use the auto pet rule to combine it with your Terra armor. In the first few phases you should use a Blaze Pet with a Shelmet, so that you're tankier. The fifth point are the weapons you use in Infernal KUUDRA. The Fire Whale wand is very important, because you use it while you're building to kill all the mobs around you. The most underrated weapon is the Reg Axe. You either use a Reg Axe with 10 stars and maybe Ultimate Wise, or you use a Reg Axe with at least Chimera 2. You should use the Reg Axe after the DPS phase, right before the skip into phase 4. Or you can use it while KUUDRA is hidden, just like in this clip. The few seconds that you'll lose while holding the Reg Axe is the damage totally worth it though. You might as well use the Reaper while you're Reg Axing, because you can't deal any damage anyways, but I think it's pretty scary. So I do not use it because of my ping too. Of course you need a hype, but like, that's normal. The term is also very important. As mentioned before, try to get to 100 crit chance while having the Spiritual Reforge. But if this doesn't work, then just use Hasty and Ferocity enrichments. I would recommend you using a Fatal Tempo term, and if you have 2 terms, then 1 Fatal Tempo term and 1 Duplex 2 term, so that you can get the max damage possible. Of course, it's okay if you just use your normal Dungeons term with Soul Eater, but this is my recommendation only based on KUUDRA, because like if you look at my stats, I only play KUUDRA, so I don't really care about dungeons that much. Also very important is the Endstone Sword. While pros use it for the one-time damage increase, you will just use it to be able to mana drain instantly, so that your teammates deal a lot more damage too. In every party, you gotta have someone using Last Breath, so that KUUDRA takes way more damage. It's a night and day difference. You do not need one though. You can even use it in phase 1, but then the animation skip has to be achieved, because it will be the same entity. If the stamina is an L or the DPS is trash, you gotta read last breath in the last phase. Sorta the same thing as the Axe of the Shredded. Someone should use it in phase 4 so that you'll get the lethality stacks. The last subject is just some miscellaneous information and items you need to use fortitious, otherwise you won't ever hit 100 crit chance. Make sure to always have 21 toxic arrow poison in your inventory so that you'll always get the phase 4 kill. Some pros use 32 toxic arrow poison to even pre-fire so that you can stack the tap hits, but you won't need that too soon. To be able to get quick ones, you also have to use ender pearls. You can use this mod that shows you where you have to throw your ender pearl, and if you just throw it at 38%, the supplies will always be instantly delivered. Open shop explains itself. It's just so that you don't have to stand around at like the same spot every time. The refined bottle of gyro is very important so that you have 300 plus base mana for an hour. I don't have to explain that either. You might need to use crit chance on that beacon because your magic power is a bit low, and you should always have the cakes active. To the gameplay itself, just learn a pre, as for example slash or X or triangle, and put your rod on a specific location so that you'll save some time. When it comes to building, just build like this, and when you're finished with your build, just hype to the next one. It's the perfect distance away. Please, for the love of God, do not jump in phase 4 because you won't get any mana drain and you might block some arrows of your teammates. So just do not do that. The way people decide who to play with is with their runs, so do not try to join a party with 1k plus if you have nothing near it. And please never walk to the DPS spot, because otherwise mobs will follow you and the DPS is fucked. Also, use NEU so that you can have a keybind for your wardrobe so that you can easily swap equipment and maybe the spirit mask. It's also useful for rending, but I'm not going to teach you that. Instead of using the wand of strength and the volcano, you can quickly jump into the lava for a damage tick or two. But I would not recommend you doing it when you first start doing KUUDRA, just learn it the normal way. You Derailious, you might get carried by some other players because you just got a red name, but for the other people watching this video, good luck. If you need somebody to play KUUDRA with, then I'd be open for it. I think that I can give you a few decent tips, might as well. I got some experience, so I can just tell you about it. So that's it, I hope you enjoyed my little guide to Infernal KUUDRA. If you got any questions, write a comment or talk in your stream about that. I will be there. So have fun grinding, dude.